The Houston Texans at the Green Bay Packers features a loaded amount of star players. Two incredible young quarterbacks, excellent running backs, loaded wide receiver rooms, but we're not focusing on them. This matchup's going to come down to a role player or a backup making a big play in this matchup. It's Who Better Ball, presented by my friends at BetUS. Try out BetUS with the code YouTube150 to get yourself a 150% bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit. Who better ball? A role player, a backup player that needs to play well if their team wants to win this matchup at Lambeau Field. Let's start with the Texans over on defense. I've coined the term the linebacker ups for Neville Hewitt and Jake Hansen, who will be filling in at linebacker this week. Azeez Al-Shire has a knee injury. He's out for this week, and Henry To'o is in the concussion protocol. He's out this week. In comes Hewitt and Hansen. H&H at the linebacker spot, or the linebacker ups for, well, I would say for short, but that's actually longer. Linebacker ups is my approved term for them, though. Hewitt's a physical guy. He's not exactly what Azeez Al-Shire brings to the table from an athleticism standpoint, and obviously having played a lot of linebacker in this system, but Hewitt can match some of the physicality that Azeez Al-Shire has and has brought to this Texans defense. He's a big physical guy. He's fast. He can get downhill to try to stop a guy like Josh Jacobs, which will be important in this matchup. And then Hansen can play a little bit of To'o's role, use the athleticism, not the biggest guy in the world, but between the ears, knows what needs to get done, gets in the spot and goes and makes the play. To'o has had a really nice season. Hansen had a really nice preseason. Now, again, it's against backups, but he took care of his business when he was on the field in the preseason. So did Hewitt. So it's a tough task for them against this talented Green Bay offense to be in there and starting at linebacker, even if one of the other linebackers was available. If it was just To'o out or just Azeez Al-Shire out, you'd feel a lot better about this. But both of them being out, it's up to the linebacker ups to show up and show out in this opportunity. For the Packers, a player that could be matched up with those linebacker ups is their tight end. Tucker Kraft has 3 touchdowns on the season, and they've all come in the past 3 weeks for the Green Bay Packers. A couple of weeks ago against the Rams, he had a huge day, nearly 100 yards, a couple of scores for the big fella, a former mid-round pick. And they will get the ball to Kraft despite the fact that they've got a laundry list of opportunities to get the ball out to that impressive wide receiver room. Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson and Jaden Reed, who's their best, are all really good. But as you focus on slowing them down, oh, look, Jordan Love finds this guy Kraft right there in the middle of the field. He kind of sneaks into the picture because you're not always paying attention to him. And I know DeMeco Ryans is going to have a lot on his plate with what he's got to do to slow down these impressive wide receivers. It's going to be up to somebody to make sure Kraft doesn't make that play on the Texans defense to make sure that the Packers don't have yet another impressive pass-catching option in this matchup on top of those 3 wide receivers that are very good for them. And if Kraft gets going for the Packers, it opens things up for those wide receivers as well. As you kind of worry about him, you kind of sneak or creep inside. Next thing you know, Christian Watson's behind everybody, loves hitting a bomb to him, and it's putting points on the board. That would be no good for the Houston Texans as well. So with the Packers being loaded on offense, I'm liking the Texans offense as well. And the Texans defense having a guy here or there missing. How about our friends at BetUS for this game? Texans are 3-point dogs in this one, but we're staying away from a side. I like the total in this one. I like the over as well. Let's put 60 on it and just see if we can get some points in this one. It's that easy to get it going at BetUS. You can get a money line bet on one side, the team totals, and then, of course, you can get into stuff like halves, quarters, games, props, player props as well. BetUS has it all for you. Try it out with the code YouTube150, YouTube150, and you're going to get a 150% bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit. And they'll even give you a bonus on the next 2 deposits as well of 125%. So don't miss out on that. YouTube150 is the code to get that bonus. Sticking with the Green Bay Packers, and these next 2 who better ball players on the defense of each of these teams are very similar guys. Now, this one's a little bit different than the Texans one that we'll finish with, but Keyshawn Nix is the other cornerback for this impressive Packers secondary. The secondary for the Packers is been really good this year. They've got Xavier McKinney, who's been fantastic, a free agent acquisition that they brought over at the safety spot. He's got 5 interceptions on the season. Jair Alexander obviously is very good, one of the best cornerbacks in football. But Keyshawn Nixon is the other player at cornerback that's important for the Packers. And he actually has allowed a passer rating of over 100 when quarterbacks target him, because you stay away from, Xavier McKinney in the deep part. You stay away from Jair Alexander. You go after the backup and Keyshawn Nixon. I mean, that's kind of makes a lot of sense to me. Didn't it make sense to you? And teams have had some success going against Nixon. Now, he's not been some leaky element to the Packers defense, but there's something there if the Texans want to go after him. But if Nixon, who's going to draw the matchup opposite whatever Alexander is defending, if Nixon has a good day, that really takes the chances of the Texans passing attack getting going away, helps the Packers a ton in this one. Keyshawn Nixon, a who better ball for the Packers. Let's wrap this up with a Texans defender. And again, it's the other cornerback that's going to be on the field. We know Derek Stingley's super impressive, and he's going to have a tough task no matter who the wide receiver the Packers choose to put out there on him is. Maybe it's Jaden Reed, maybe it's Christian Watson, maybe it's Romeo Doubs, but Stingley, you trust him. The guy opposite Derek Stingley is D'Angelo Ross, and D'Angelo Ross filled in really well last week for the injured Kamari Lassiter, and he's going to have to do it again this week. But last week, the Patriots didn't challenge D'Angelo Ross. They threw at Ross one time. He's a backup cornerback that hasn't played a ton in his NFL career at cornerback. And so doesn't it kind of make sense you'd challenge him a little bit more? I got a hunch that the Packers, with Jordan Love, that impressive wide receiver room, and Matt LaFleur as the head coach, are going to try to challenge D'Angelo Ross more than just one time in this matchup. So if Ross came up with a big play, batting a ball away on third down, or my goodness, even a turnover, you start to see how if he has a big day, along with Derek Stingley, and you kind of have the edges for the Texans defensive line affect things, you can survive, backup linebackers, young players at safety playing, and a backup cornerback here for the Houston Texans. But if Ross is leaky, if there's constantly targeting him and going after him, that would not be good for the chances of the Texans to win this one. So D'Angelo Ross, he better ball for the Houston Texans on defense to help slow down and take care of business against this Packers offense that is pretty impressive and can be explosive. But Jordan Love may throw you one, and if he throws one to D'Angelo Ross, I got a hunch the Texans will walk away with a victory on this one. So the linebacker ups and D'Angelo Ross for the Texans, Tucker Kraft and Keyshawn Nixon. I don't know why I keep forgetting the O-N on his name. Keyshawn Nixon for the Packers. Who better ball as a role player or a backup for you? Let me know in the comment section down below. On your way down there, throw me a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, don't forget to visit our friends at BetUS. Use that code YouTube150 for the 150% bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit. We like the over in this one. And there may be some other things that we like in this one too. So be on the lookout for the next video as well. Appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I can't wait until we talk Texans again soon.